What do you least mind paying as an investor? Commissions, cost, fee. What won out there was cost. People said, I'm a consumer. Everything costs something. Just tell me what this is going to cost me. Because when they hear the word fee, they think they're being double charged. And so if you think about it, if you peel back layers there, what we found is that people hate the word fee in every industry. So what we have to do is just talk about, look, this is what this is going to cost you. Just use the word cost, and then they don't get caught up and angered by the word fee.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome into Ready, Set, Grow Strategies for Financial Advisors. This is a special one. We've got Jeannie Underwood, Head of Consulting at Global Atlantic. And you've got a really interesting study that you've put together. But before we get into that, I want to learn a little bit more about you and how you kind of found your way into our hot seat for the day. I'll start you off with a softball.
Right.
I think, at least.
Okay.
Do words matter?
Absolutely, they matter.
I'm so glad you said that. What a relief.
What if I didn't say that? No, they absolutely matter. I wish we spent more time in our industry talking about this because it can catapult your situation to lead to more success in any situation working with clients and prospects, so on and so forth. So yes, words absolutely do matter.
Now, Global Atlantic is a carrier that we at Impact work with, and you've got, I alluded to a study. We're going to talk about some communication principles. We're going to do a little green light word action.
Yes.
And then we're also going to do a little versus, which I'm really looking forward to. This word versus this word. It's going to be, I think it's going to be really enlightening for a lot of advisors to kind of realize that their word choice matters both in person and in their printed material that they're sending out to their clients and prospects. So
absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about the study first.
Okay. Well,
high level view.
Yes. And thank you so much. I'm super excited that you're so interested in this. I've been studying this for a really long time, actually, since 2007. And I'll tell you where it all started. We saw this PBS special on Frank Lentz back in 2007, and it came across as like him being a word expert in Washington, D.C. And we were so into this episode that we actually contacted Frank Lentz. And we said, by watching your PBS special, it sounds like you think you have a word problem in the political arena. We think we might have a word problem in the financial industry. And he said, no one's ever come to me from your industry. Let me take a look at your collateral, how you speak in your industry, and I'll let you know what I think. And so after a couple weeks, he comes back, he slams the files on this big boardroom table, and he says, oh my, you all have a very serious problem in your industry. No one knows what this stuff is. It sounds like a foreign language, and I will work with you. And so from 2008, we traveled the country. We did focus groups looking for words that work for financial professionals. What Frank does in the political world is he finds words that work for politicians, like words to use in speeches that are really going to get people to lean in, words that work when selling policy to the general public to get really that emotion from people, and ultimately words that work to help them get more votes. And so our mandate was to travel and find these words that work for financial professionals, not to get them more votes, but to get them more business.
Yep.
And so we continued that through starting in 2008 up until this point of this more recent research that we did looking for these words that work and then some. Really, ultimately, what we were looking for the financial professional community is a communication toolkit that includes much more than just words.
Toolkit. So this is, well, what stood out to you? What did you learn when you came away from that? What blew you away?
Well, we got a whole new dictionary of words that work. And these are words that when we did our focus groups for this study, this is what people lean into. And they're like, wait a minute, hold on, yes. And they want to get to the next step of hearing more. Good questions that work, open-ended questions. Like, we're always telling financial professionals, ask really good open-ended questions, because open-ended questions create likability and people do more business with people they like and trust. But no one's ever studied questions. And then we also wanted to study client resource tools, like, tools you use every day, like marketing pieces, brochures, videos, podcasts, client like calculator tools. And do they work? while we're on this kind of like test journey. Let's see if they work. And in most cases, yeah, they work. They work really well. But what we found is where should you be using these in the conversation, in the conversation process to have the most impact? And so we were able to find that as well.
One thing that I picked up from your findings were the level of the language that people were using, in that if you use too elevated of a word choice, you're talking over your clients and prospects, and they don't respond to that sort of thing. So you suggested paring it down to what grade? I mean, was there a grade level associated with what it needed to be?
Yeah, like third grade.
Third grade?
Let's
Third
get down
grade?
to like third grade language, or we call it 18s. Like use language that if you're at this point, like 18-year-olds can understand and communicate from, like you're in a good place. And we see we're in an industry where we have a lot of jargon. We have a lot of sophisticated language, and we're proud to use it. And I think we can use it amongst our colleagues and get it, but when we bring it down to the level, kind of like the front lines, they're not impressed with it. They get very frustrated with it. And at the end of the day, it kind of makes them angry.
Did you find that an advisor's knowledge and insight was almost hurting them in this instance? That they felt the need that they needed to sound smarter and more sophisticated and more knowledgeable, and they're really talking their way out of a deal?
Kind of, yeah. They do. I mean, they think, because this is how we're taught, these are the words that we use and this is how we explain things. And it doesn't work when we come across as too sophisticated, because that's not mainstream language. And there's a way to kind of bring it back a notch and come from like a simplistic approach. But I will say, you brought up the word knowledge. And when we did studies years ago, investors, they like their advisor. When we tested, what do you want in your advisor? Do you want experience? Do you want education? Like they're educated, knowledgeable. And what won out there was knowledgeable. That in there, the most they want out of their advisor when we tested all those words is they want a knowledgeable advisor. So we want to get that across. We're knowledgeable, but we have to get that across in words that they understand.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense, that it's not dumbing it down to the point where you're no longer coming across as smart. It's
or offensive.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
now you're talking to me
boy,
like,
you don't
whoa,
wanna
yeah,
cross that line.
exactly.
How did the psychology of some of these words play into the study? I think that's what the advisors that I speak with, I think, are very interested in, the psychology of why say this versus that.
Yes.
What did you find in that realm?
And that's what we offer. So we didn't want to just put out a bunch of information, say this and not that, and then walk away, because it's a little bit of
just trust us.
Right. Just trust us. It leaves a little bit of a mystery, and we don't want that. We want this to be productive. So when we were doing the word study and we were testing all these words with the participants in these focus groups, we would then ask the why. Well, hold on a second, because there were some words that we were like, wait a minute, we thought this one would have worked better than this one. And then they would share with us, well, I don't really like that because this does this, or it makes me feel this way. So for every word that we tested that won out, we do provide the why and the psychology of why it does work. And that's important. It's important for the financial professional community to know that, because that will instill confidence in them to use the words, insert the words, and start using them to make a difference for their communication situations.
One term that you used in our pre-call for this was the buying zone, and getting people to the buying zone.
Yes.
What's that?
So what we did is, when we did the study, we put everything out in front of us. We studied and we did these focus groups, and we learned a lot, and said, okay, what are we going to do with all of this? Because there's so much here, and how are we going to build kind of this narrative or package this? And one of the things that we found is a communication strategy is really, really important. And so what is a communication strategy? And in that communication strategy, what are your steps along the way to get to what you want out of that situation? The advisor, typically an advisor knows, like, okay, we got to get them here, because we know after the interviews and the conversations, these are their goals. We got to get them here. But it's not that easy. You kind of have to create a path or a journey to get to that point. So that's really what we did, is we designed this path to get them to the point that we're calling the buying zone or the decision zone, or whatever that, whatever you're comfortable with. So we created these steps there's really 4 steps along the way, and you follow these 4 steps and you accomplish each one of these items within the steps, then our research tells us that you can get to that buying zone.
I'm sensing a trend here of methodical,
Yes.
which I really like, and I think
Yes.
advisors respond well to that sort of thought process going into something.
Yes.
We mentioned the communication principles. I need them. You lay them out for me, please. What are the? I think you said you had 3. So what are the
Yes.
3 communication principles?
Yes, and nothing earth-shattering here. So here
No.
they are. All right, here
But
they
you'd
are.
be surprised. You'd be
Yeah,
surprised.
You're right, because we've all been trained differently. But from a research standpoint, here are the 3. Number 1 is that we have to keep our messages positive.
Okay.
That people do not like to be scared into anything. So here's what I've seen in the past is that when we hit like a volatile market, and things like, oh no, here it comes. We've been in this historic bull market, for, however many years we've been in it, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So when that happens, it could destroy your portfolio. So now we have to put these items in place so that doesn't happen. They don't like that. They don't like it. Or when people go, I hear a lot of advisors say, like, you remember what happened in 2008? We don't want that to happen again. And when people said, they said, look, I went through 08. I lost money. I got my money back, and I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
So don't try to scare me into doing anything based on that time period. We just have to make sure that we're positive. So anytime we want to make an adjustment, or maybe because we're seeing things that could be happening in the market, we don't want to go back and scare them into anything. The only thing that we have to do is say, look, we want to make this adjustment today because we're always making sure that we're aligning with your goals and helping you to achieve your goals. So that is a very positive spin. If you are naturally inclined to kind of go back to these scary time periods to get them to make a decision, don't do that. Always align. If you're looking for a positive, if you're not, not everyone's positive, right?
No,
not everyone's
unfortunately.
So if you're looking for ways to be like, okay, I have to have this awareness to stay positive, always go back to people's goals. Look, we want to make this adjustment today, not because the markets are scary, but because we're always mindful of your goals and making sure that we can achieve your goals. And this is why we want to make that change. So you got to keep the message positive.
I mean, you said achieve versus lose. I mean,
Yes.
we're not trying to lose anything. We're trying to achieve. I'm listening.
Look at
I'm picking
you,
up what you're
look at
saying.
you,
All right. Your
yeah.
first principle, you got to keep it positive. What else we got?
You got to keep positive. Number 2 is that you got to keep your messages plausible. That means believable, credible. Don't ever make anything too good to be true. And in our business, being an annuity carrier, we can use the word guarantee legally. And we can say, no, this will guarantee, you won't lose any money. This will guarantee you have income for the rest of your life. And those products do that, but that language is a little over the top for most investors. And then they become skeptics. So you got to really kind of downplay a little bit some of that and just keep it plausible, believable, and not over the top. And then the third item is keep it simple. We just got to find words, easy words, simple communication, and that's what will resonate.
And I'm hearing my 5th grade teacher telling me, keep it simple, stupid. When you're
right.
writing, just
That's
don't
right.
try and say too much.
Yes.
With those principles, was there one that you felt like is tougher for an advisor to get over mentally?
Yeah, I think potentially all of them, but I would say I think the simple one is hard.
Yeah,
because we do work in a complicated industry. Our language can be complicated. It can come across as a little overly sophisticated, and that's how we're trained. That's how we've grown up, is to use these words, talk in a language that a lot of people don't understand, but that's what we know.
Yeah.
So we have to have an incredible amount of awareness when we're communicating to make sure that we stay on target with these principles.
You mentioned a couple of the words that I want to get to for our verses, but first let me get to some green light words.
Yes.
Because when we had our pre-call, the green light words, you said it, and immediately I thought, okay, that's got legs to it.
Yes.
So what were some green light words and these were words that use these words, please. I mean, it's that simple.
It's that simple. Just get in the habit of using these words. So one of them, okay, so let me give you the context of how we found this word.
Yeah.
So we tested how likely would you be to put your money into, and we gave a very textbook definition of a target date fund. And we wanted to measure likely versus unlikely. And so again, how likely would you be to put your money into textbook definition target date fund? And the results of that, 50% said, yeah, I like that. I'll do that. And then 50% said, no, unlikely. No, I don't know if I like that. And then we inserted one word. We said, how likely would you be to put a portion of your money into the exact same definition and likely went to 90% with one word.
That's quite the pendulum swing.
One word. It was one of the highest changes in difference by adding one word, and the word is portion. And I call it a green light word because here's what we found. Here's the why. Here's the psychology.
Please.
They said, unless I hear portion, I think you're implying all, and I'm not comfortable with all. Now, the advisor over here, the financial professional, is like, well, I would never insinuate all. That's not my job. But they might not say portion. So they're not saying it, but they're thinking it. And this person's waiting for them to say it, and they can't get on the same page. So insert and use the word portion. It's a green light word. It relaxes people. They open up like, okay, I'm ready to listen to this. It's a really powerful word, portion.
I mean, it's sort of a hedge, like you're hedging your bet almost.
Yes.
Not that you're betting on someone's.
We just have to say it. Just make it a habit of just saying portion. Portion can make or break a deal, a big deal.
What else you got? All right. I love portion, I think. And that's a word. You're not replacing anything. You're just adding a word in.
You're adding a word in. Exactly.
Do you have another green light word that is adding a word in? I know I love hate putting people on the spot when they come on here.
You know, I don't know if I have another one where you insert, but I have a lot of words that work versus words that I think a lot of financial advisors are using today.
Okay, so now you're getting into my versus segment of the program. So the ones that you said in our pre-call, dream retirement. Oh, the dream retirement. I hear so many financial advisors love to use that term, and I thought, yeah, that's great. But a comfortable retirement.
Yes.
So what did you find in the dream versus comfortable battle?
So let me set the stage with who were our participants in the focus groups. Okay, so they had to be in the age range of 55 to 70, and they had to have at least $250,000 of investable assets. So when we tested this, what would you respond to? Do you want an advisor to talk to you about your dream retirement goals or your comfortable retirement goals? And overwhelming people said comfortable retirement. And this goes back to my plausible communication principle, is that people don't necessarily believe in the dream in this asset
metaphysical
range.
Kind of
it exactly. They're like, I was never living the dream in my working years. How could I possibly live the dream in my retirement years? It just doesn't seem plausible. It doesn't seem believable. I'm not sure I could wrap my head around that. But my dream retirement would just be to live a comfortable retirement. So anytime that you can use that, if you're going to talk about a financial plan, or a certain product that offers them maybe income for the rest of life, or your growth, so on and so forth, you want to talk about it in the sense that, like, look, we are adding this to your overall portfolio because our goal and your goal is to have a comfortable retirement, and this is something that will help you achieve that.
And that's speaking to that plausible principle. Another one that I think is speaking of the plausibility one, security versus freedom.
Yes. Let me real quick make a comment about the dream, because a lot of people do believe in those words and that, and they think that gets attention. And we see a lot of like the dream book. There's a lot of firms out there that use that. When you are starting to work with clients that are like have 5 to 7 million in assets, investable assets, the dream might resonate more with them. And especially the dream will resonate with anyone that have assets of 10 million plus. That's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
And the dream is much more plausible. But when we're talking about the mass affluent, typically a comfortable retirement, they're going to respond to much more than that dream retirement, which then leads into what you just asked me, right?
Yep.
Freedom versus security. It's kind of the same concept. What they said is like, well, freedom, again, I never was like, I felt free when I was saving for it, when I was actually making money. Like, I'm just not sure that I can wrap my head around this concept of freedom in retirement. But you know what I love? And if anyone wants to talk to me about financial security and any security that you can offer me that's wrapped around my money, I for sure want to hear about that.
Guarantee versus protected.
Yes. So it's interesting. These words are coming closer together. But when we originally studied these words that work, What won out was protected. So when we thought, let's test the word guarantee, because like that's got to be a home run, right? We can use it. We're one of the only industries that can use it legally. Let's talk about it. Let's see if it works. And it worked okay. But what worked better is this idea of protect. Protect, any form of the word protect. Protect, protected, protection. Anytime you can protect someone's income, they want to hear more. Anytime you can protect their growth, they want to hear more. Anytime you can protect them from like long-term care situations, they want to hear more than when they hear the word guarantee. We're going to guarantee your income for the rest of your life. It works, but it doesn't work as well as we're going to protect your income for the rest of your life.
I think that's got to be really enlightening for a lot of advisors who can't use the word guarantee, have a compliance officer in their ear saying, no, you can't use guarantee. Well, hey, maybe you don't need to.
You don't need to.
They protected might get the job done just the same.
Protect. Yes.
For the annuity side, and I think it may have wider uses, but cost versus fees.
Oh, it's one of my favorites.
Oh, I'm glad I struck a chord.
I love this one. And I have a few stories to go along with this. So originally we tested, what do you least mind paying as an investor? What do you least mind paying? And I think there are words in there like commissions, cost, fee, expenses. I say that already. Those type of words. And what it came down to is that what won out there was cost. People said, I'm a consumer. Everything costs something. Just tell me what this is going to cost me. Because when they hear the word fee, they think they're being double charged.
Okay.
And so they said, just tell me. And it almost angers them when they hear fee. And so if you think about it, if you peel back layers there, what we found is that people hate the word fee in every industry. You know, when they look at their cell phone bills, it seems like it's like 3 pages of fees. Their cable bill, right?
I just stayed at a hotel. I had some fees.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I was just doing my expenses on the plane right down here.
Yeah.
And when I got to itemizing my hotel bill from a recent stay in New York, I had 6 line items of fees on top of the taxes. It's angry. And it angers people in our industry too. So what we have to do is just talk about, look, this is what this is going to cost you. Just use the word cost, and then they don't get caught up and angered by the word fee. It's as simple as that.
You mentioned anger and how people don't necessarily respond well to that.
Mm-mm.
Boomers especially, you found.
Yes, which is the ones that have all the assets right now. So you don't want to scare them into anything. You got to keep the message positive. And if we know the words that work, and they'll start nitpicking, right? Well, what's that fee for? Well, is that the only fee? Well, what else am I going to be paying for? So to eliminate that, you might not eliminate it totally, but just use the word cost. So I'll share with you, all of you, that if that word fee is embedded in your head and it's a part of your vernacular. I had one advisor up in Wisconsin. She had seen me speak a couple of times. And she said, Jeannie, I know I'm not supposed to use the word fee, and I'm supposed to use the word cost. And I got to tell you, I was a total failure on this for a long time. But here's how I figured out, for me personally, how to use the right words. Every time I go into a meeting, I have a mindful moment with myself. And I just say to myself, just don't say the F word in this meeting. You are going to be good. You will be golden. And so I would say to all of you out there, just don't say the F word and just remember to use the word cost. Then another advisor, she shared with me in Kansas City, she said, I've seen you speak before, and here's how I use it strategically. She says when she gets a client in that she knows she doesn't have all their assets or a prospect, she lays everything out. And then when it comes time for the cost conversation, she pinpoints and goes through her bullet points. She says, this is what this is going to cost you. Then she pauses and she says, now, would you mind sharing with me what Frank Smith is charging you in fees over there?
Flipped it on him. Okay.
And let's compare. And so now psychologically, she's like in there, right? She's in their head like, oh, you just have costs and they have
This
fees?
guy's got fees.
What do you mean they have fees? And so she said that's how she uses that strategy. Hers are always costs and the competition is always fees.
Well, normally we're only allowed one F word during these, and you just burned through about 6 of them. So we'll have to get with our own compliance about handling all of that. I love the way that you phrase entering a conversation in that positive messaging. So why is it important for an advisor to ask better questions when they're sitting down with somebody?
Questions, really good open-ended questions, they open people up. It makes them about them.
Mhm.
And we know this from years ago from other studies that what questions do is they create likability. So when you ask a question about someone, like who they are, not just what they have, but who you are as a person, you just keep asking them questions about them.
Yep.
It creates this likability factor. And we know this, that there's lots of studies out there that people will do more business with people they like and trust and not vice versa. So you got to get across this like likability factor, and good questions will do that.
Yeah, like no trust. I feel like I've heard someone say that once before in my life. Maybe on House Rules, starring Alex House, also on our YouTube channel.
Nice.
Thank you. One thing that you said that I thought was important from a research standpoint was a lot of these weren't necessarily a 51-49 split when you found out that one word worked versus the other. It was overwhelming. 90-10. I mean,
Yes.
you don't normally see that in research, right?
Not always, no. No, not always. So and sometimes even if you get like a little, like if it's just like a small variance there, it's important. Like, Frank Luntz always said is that, 1 to 3 percentage points in the vote can win the election.
Yeah.
So like, just even a tiny little variance can win you more business.
I want to get you out of here, but I got 2 more things written down on my page. We didn't even get into paycheck versus income.
Oh, can we?
Please.
Can we?
Please.
Okay.
We'll
all
make
right.
time. We'll make time.
This is a big one because there's a lot of words out there, right? There's a lot of people that use, and a lot of practice management experts that use, you got to create this paycheck or, this paycheck for life. And it sounds good. Like, I want a paycheck for life. When we studied it, it didn't resonate as well. And here's what people said. They said, well, it's not a paycheck because I already earned that money and it insinuates work and I'm not working. And so I just want to hear a retirement income plan. Okay, so I know I don't have an audience here, but if you're listening to this podcast, I want you to write down the words retirement income. Retirement income, circle that, bold that, whatever you need to do. Here's what we found from other research is that the financial professional that creates a retirement income plan for their clients ultimately collect more of those clients' assets. And in fact, what Limmer shared with us is the financial professional will get on average 90% of clients' assets if they create the retirement income plan for them for retirement. I know it's a little redundant there, but what they said is that they have to hear the words though, retirement income, not retirement plan, not anything else. They have to hear retirement income, and they are already in the mind space of like, oh, you're going to help me with a retirement income plan in retirement. Yes, I need to talk more to you. And you'll set yourself on this track to start collecting more assets from those individuals.
It's a mindset shift that you're just kind of incepting on them with just a simple word change.
Just retirement income. And then what happens is, and then that gives them the opportunity to say, so if I'm going to create this retirement income plan for you, I need to see everything. I need to see your Social Security statements. I need to see your pension statements if you're lucky enough to have those. I need to see every large pool of money that I do not manage for you that you plan on using for retirement. I need to see it because that will go into this plan going forward. And so it's one word that can just completely explode for you with good things to bring more assets to your attention with those 2 words together.
Give me your best minute on what you found out about annuities.
People like annuities,
Okay.
actually.
That's a good start.
They don't, if you just say, hey, I want to talk to you about this annuity, they don't respond. But here's what they do respond to with annuities. They love what annuities do.
Okay.
And they place high value on anything, again, going back to this protect, anything that is going to protect their growth for a certain amount of time, if not forever, anything that's going to protect their income for the rest of life, anything that's going to protect them, their legacy and provide more to their loved ones. They want to hear about that all day long. It's not what it is, it's what it does that drives their interest. And they place high value on all those items that I just said. So what we found with annuities from a communication standpoint is that if you're going to talk about an annuity and the person across the table does not have a knowledge base for annuities, or they maybe have a negative, they have negative feelings towards annuities.
Mhm.
Anytime you lead with what it does versus what it is, you'll get them on the same page with you. We have to ensure that they understand the outcome and why it matters for them and their overall portfolio, and they are in and they are ready to listen more.
All right, so I wrote down my homework. I wrote down retirement income. I'm listening. The
Yes.
3 communication principles for everyone listening at home. In
Yes.
summation, since this has
Yes.
been so research focused, be plausible.
Oh, it starts with a P.
Be plausible. You're not going to help me. You're going to let me.
Positive.
Be positive.
positive.
Oh, so I did them in the wrong.
Positive.
So be
Yes.
positive.
Yes.
Be plausible. Keep it simple.
Yes.
Love that.
Yes.
Add. What was the word that we just need to add in? There's one word that we need to add in. Portion.
Ooh, you love that.
Gotta
yes.
add
yes.
portion
You gotta have
in.
portion.
And then obviously you have to like and subscribe to anything that you see on our Impact Partnership YouTube channel. That one's selfish. That one's on me. I'll wear that. We said several F words. We'll bleep them out in post. My apologies to my mother for when she watches this and
Wow.
hearing that. But
Yes.
it just
So nice
comes
of
with
you.
the territory. Yeah, it's so brave of me,
Yes.
really. Our Impact Partnership YouTube channel is a great resource for advisors looking to grow their practice. You got House Rules with Alex House, Selling with Stories with Randy Cook, where he lays out a lot of these conversations and touches on a lot of these same things that we've kind of talked about today in terms of what words to use and what words to steer away from, and don't scare boomers.
That's right. Don't
They
do
don't
it.
respond to it.
Don't do it.
Jeannie, thank you so much for taking the time, and hopefully an advisor learned something much like I learned today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.